fountain of affection. I'm the instrument of joy to keep the good times rolling. I'm the boy, I'm the boy. You know the world could be our own. Just put your trust in me to keep the good times rolling. Wait and see, wait and see. Oh, wait and
Hello. Okay. This is going to be considerably more serious. Why did I get actual comedians to open up for me? I don't know. But that was very silly, and I had a very nice time. But it's time to get serious. Halifax, I'm back and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. For those keeping score, this is my 4th and 5th shows in the HRM. The first 2 were at the Woodside Beverage Room in Dartmouth. And just last August, I was right here at the Marquee. I would like to point out that it was a very special show for me. It was for sure the most people ever assembled into a room for one of my shows. And today, over these 2 shows at 5 and 7, we are breaking that record once again. So pretty sick. You guys are really good to me here, and that is awesome. No city has ever shown me the type of support that the people of Halifax have, and the numbers just don't lie. I would like to start by thanking everyone here at the Marquee who have made these shows possible, starting with John Samuel and Tynan Dunfield. Round of applause there. I think we all know these guys are doing a great job. I'd also like to thank the other performers, Max, Colin, and Andrew. Another round of applause for these guys. And I'd like to thank another Neville, his brother Braden, who's helping out taking some shots tonight. And my sister, Maureen Batt, who's here doing some filming in the back too. So thanks to all my help. If you'll be joining us again later for the selection portion with the DJs, this is what the kids say now. Instead of DJs, they say selectors. I don't know if you've heard this from the children. But they're saying this. We have DJs Chris Reynolds and Annie Sherry joining us later, so that's going to be pretty sick. And another shout out to the bar staff here at the Marquee, because they are the best in the biz. I'd like to share something about the time I met one of the opening performers here tonight, Andrew Neville. It was actually right here outside of the Marquee after my shows at the Woodside Beverage Room in 2023. Essentially, I finished both of my shows as quickly as I could because there was a pretty special event happening here that I was trying to make it over for. Grand Theft Bust and Jimmy Swift Band doing one of their seamless sets night. Do you know what this is? This is where the music never stops, man. as one band finishes, one member leaves at a time and another member of the next band comes on. And so it's like this, yeah. It is so trippy. But basically, I run into Andrew and I introduce myself out back as I'm heading into the show, and I tell him what I'm here for, and he's like, "That tracks." And I felt kind of insulted that he was like, "Oh yeah, you're here for Jimmy Swift. Look at you." But yeah. So anyway, thanks for the set, Andrew. It was great. I have a couple other connections to Halifax. I am, for those unaware, a proud Frederictonian, but both my sister and dad attended Dalhousie University. Personally, I was over here a few times growing up playing hockey, most notably against Sidney Crosby, which we sang about earlier. Those fucking sons of bitches. Just felt so disrespected their whole set, but it's okay. It's kind of funny thing about this picture though. I love this photo because the longer you look at it, the stranger it gets. You have to keep in mind what's going on here. At the time, these guys were teammates. Mario was still playing for the Sens, but he's in a suit here, whereas Crosby's in the jersey. But also, Mario was an owner of the team. So this is like a boss and an employee at Sears or something. So that's fucked up. And then you remember, or you may not know, but when Crosby came into the NHL, he was, of course, just 18 years old, and perhaps as a means of protecting their investment, the Penguins decided that Crosby was not going. I mean, he wasn't legal in the States. He's like an 18-year-old kid, so he moved in with Mario Lemieux. So now this is a photo of roommates as well. I just think it's all pretty silly. But yeah, I played against Sidney Crosby, and in my notes it said hold for aggressive applause, but that didn't come. It was when I peaked as a person. In fact, I just happen to have a photo here of me at a tournament that I played against him at. You can see it says me over me. It's at the World Pee-wee AAA Championships in Quebec City. You get to play at the Colisée where the Nordiques used to play. It's all pretty exciting. You're 14 years old playing in front of 20,000 people. There's the hockey card that they made for me. But I would like you to kind of pay close attention here to this gentleman, number 30, because he's going to come up momentarily. His name is Justin Young. You're not going to believe the connection, but here goes. This was a story in the National Post that says drunk and naked prisoner accidentally reveals hidden drugs during X-rated impersonation of Cyril Sneer. I wouldn't normally recommend reading the National Post, but in this case, a PEI. Anytime a story starts with a PEI man, they're kind of like our Florida, aren't they? I love PEI, but like, if it's a PEI man, something fucked up's about that. A PEI prisoner's drunken X-rated impersonation of cartoon character Cyril Sneer led to drug possession charges after his lively jig revealed illegal drugs tucked away in his rectum. Police recently arrested Troy Kenneth Campbell in the middle of Charlottetown's University Avenue, dancing with a beer in one hand and a cheeseburger in the other. I was out west recently doing shows, and people were like, "Oh yeah, from the Maritimes. I love that show, The Trailer Park Boys." I'm like, "Yes, sir. That's a documentary with a cheeseburger in the other. Give me a fucking break. Come on." As guards readied him for a dry cell, which are used for prisoners suspected of having ingested illegal materials, Campbell asked guards if they had ever seen the cartoon character Cyril Sneer, a pink aardvark with a lengthy snout, and the primary villain in the 80s Canadian children's cartoon, The Raccoons. Then he tucked his penis between his legs, bent over, and jumped up and down, pretending to be the evil industrialist. During his performance, guards spotted a piece of plastic protruding from his rear end. So just imagine, when I hear a jig, that can only mean one thing. It's like, but he had tucked it through, then was dancing, and then the drugs fell on the ground. Someone commented, now that's a Heritage Minute waiting to happen. But you'll remember from a few slides ago, the goaltender that I said, please remember this guy in a little bit. I got a Facebook message from him. He's now Charlottetown City Police. And he sends me a message on Facebook Messenger that says, that was my call. So he was the guy that went and arrested Cyril Sneer. Fucker just tucked his cock between his legs and went home. Said, did you know who Cyril Sneer was? Oh yeah, I used to watch it as a kid, he said. So I think that's awesome. I think it's absolutely insane. So I wrote my report and quoted him word for word, hence the headline, hence spelled incorrectly, more cop behavior here. Anyway, I just said this was gold, and I thought that was all really fun. But yeah, so hello city. Where did the nickname come from? Is it just from the Bare Naked Ladies song? Is that it? I've always loved the opening track off of 1992 platinum record Gordon, the one with this ball on the cover. The album did exceptionally well, all from a band that got their start in one of Much Music's Speakers Corners. Do you remember that, when they did their little video of Be My Yoko Ono? Not only did Gordon go platinum, the self-released Yellow Tape is something of a music industry legend in and of itself. The album featured Be My Yoko Ono, Brian Wilson, Blame It On Me, If I Had $1 Million, and for some reason a very strange cover of the Beastie Boys' Fight the Power. Despite being self-released and sold out of the trunk of their car, the Yellow Tape became the first indie tape to achieve platinum status in Canada. Pretty cool. But the song Hello City is a rather rude ode to Halifax. I've always found it strange that a Canadian band like Bare Naked Ladies would take such a run at another Canadian city, but the references are all over the lyrics. Another night at the Palace, because there's nothing else to do. I just think it's kind of mean, the song. But there we have it. Yeah, he also mentions the lower deck. He says his mock turtleneck just reeks, I remember. They thought in an interview I watched, they were talking about how they're like the drinking culture in Halifax is just abhorrent. Like, you guys are a rock band, like, chill out. Anyway, I want to talk about a gentleman named Moses Cody. Nova Scotia has an impressive and long history of cooperatives. Some have said that it's kind of insane that decades of neoliberal economics have not managed to fully destroy this. And you could say that Father Moses Cody laid much of the foundation for this, and I'll try to tell you how. Moses Cody was born into a very large Catholic family in 1882. For those keeping track, this was in Margaree Valley, not to be confused with Southwest Margaree, Margaree Forks, Margaree Brook, or Northeast Margaree. Capers will know. He became a priest. He immediately dedicated himself to the benefit of workers in the area, and when he was named a Monsignor, his former secretary, Kay Desjardins, recalls that Cody referred to his superiors who had appointed him to the post as sons of bitches, who were trying to move him away from his activist work. So he was getting promoted out of the trouble that he was causing. To quote the Moses Cody documentary by Kent Martin on the National Film Board of Canada, he railed against the fact that the workers were overrun by the power of billionaire corporations and millionaire individuals and dominating bureaucrats and political dictators, and said that freedom should mean that people have the right to set up institutions that will act as a counterforce to the antisocial elements of society who build up economic institutions to suppress the people and exploit them. If seven men can form a joint stock company, there's no reason why 700 or 7,000 can't do the same thing in a cooperative way. We have to get over the naive idea that monopolistic exploiters and dictators are going to learn to reform because good men preaching justice and charity tell them to do so. Instead, we must add force to our persuasion. This is a Catholic priest saying this. The force of ideas expressed in a form that will give a legitimate share of power to the people. He would go on to say, our powerful vested interests have taken over and exploited the natural resources of other people, especially those in undeveloped sectors of the earth. If we add to this our arrogant insistence on white supremacy, the situation gets even worse. Someday we will reap dividends of wrath for this stupid policy. So he was right, that is what happened.
The merchants inflated fish prices to lure members away. In 1930, a year after he had started his work, Cody brought together in Halifax 208 delegates representing fishing co-ops. At this conference, United Maritime Fishermen, a central marketing cooperative, was formed.
We have licked feudalism in the fishing villages. All this has been done without firing a single shot or shedding a drop of blood. The people did it in the good old scientific way of using their intelligence to manipulate the forces that control their lives.
Dr. Cody came to speak at a conference and he was a little late. He had stopped off at a fishing community. He had organized that community about a year and a half before that. So he stopped off to see the clergyman, see how things were. And Told him, he said, not too good, Father. Yes, he said, what's wrong? He said, is there anything wrong with the fishermen? No, he said, I'm getting wonderful cooperation from the fishermen. But he said, it's the fish dealer. Stop coming to church. I see, says Dr. Cody. Well, you know, he said, you can do what you want. But he said, if I win your race, he said, as long as you're getting good cooperation from the fishermen, I wouldn't bother too much about the fish dealer. Because if he wants to go to hell, that's his business.
After his success in organizing the fishermen, Cody was enthused by the idea that the cooperative program could be brought to other maritime people. He gathered about him a dedicated staff at the Extension Office of the university.
What he was advocating was that the little Joes and the little ordinary people would help themselves and take out of the hands of these people who had exploited them for years the lucrative income. But it's no secret that the business community at the time were very closely associated with the clergy. So he did get a lot of opposition from clergymen, some of the clergymen of his own faith.
The spiritual leaders preach social justice and charity. When it comes down to brass tacks,
tough
they
son of a
haven't
bitch.
got spirituality to stand up against the
Holy
opposition of those
hell.
whose vested interests would be hurt by a universal total cooperative program. That's why we're losing the working classes. We have to come out four square for the working man in the way our Lord taught in the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Hell yeah.
He said, when you have the people with you, you don't have to worry about these people that are trying to buck us, because in the end, we're going to win out. There's no force can stop people when they organize.
Where four people would sit around, or two, one of those little homemade card tables, that was his stand. And when he was getting his marks across, and he let go of his fist, and he hit the table jumped the foot off the floor. And that was the type of person he was.
To have a man of the cloth come in and start saying, you know, you people can do things for yourself, you can establish your own cooperative banks, which were credit unions, you can build your own cooperative homes, strengthen the people's morale at a time in which they had been very low, because most people in Canada think of the Depression as starting from the 30s on, but the Depression in Cape Breton started in the coal industry after the First World War. Remember, you know, in the 20s, Marxism, of course, with the decline of capitalism as a system in the Western world, looked to be the only possible alternative. So he gave a tremendous lift to the morale of the people there. While
Badass stuff.
The question in the box about housing. He read Warbass's book on cooperative democracy. And Warbass said anybody paying rent to a landlord pays for the house in 20 years and makes a donation of the house back to the landlord. Now that's exactly the position that we were in. We're paying a rent to the coal company, and every 20 years the house would be paid for, and they would get the house back again. We'd start all over again. So the question was, what can we do about housing so that we will own our own homes? And then we started from that, and we then decided to specialize in housing. We put all our time and studies on housing. And we studied 2 years before we started to build. We excavated all the basements by hand. And many of the skeptics at that time, they said, well, the basements will fill with water and that'll be the end of that.
I love this. So, bring this back, I think. This is another guy by the name of Charles MacDonald. He was from Steam Mill, Nova Scotia. And he ended up owning like a concrete factory in Kentville, Nova Scotia. And what's interesting about this guy was he kind of saw the Great Depression coming, and he realized that all of his workers were going to be out of work. And so he had saved up all kinds of money and developed this Make Work project, basically like just putting his employees to work because no one had any work because it was the Great Depression. And the project was pretty neat. He was like, I can't really pay you like a normal salary, but we will all pool our money together And when anyone needs something, like to fix their house or to build this or money for a family member for that, they'll come to the group and be issued those funds. So pretty clever. Here he is later in life. But some of you may be interested to know what that Make Work project was, and it was the ferry cottages at Huntington Point. So this was the Teapot Cottage, which is no longer with us, unfortunately. Something to do with like the erosion and the seawater or whatever, because they're very close to the ocean. Has anyone ever been there? No, the ferry cottages? Yeah? I want to go. I haven't been. Aren't they amazing? Like, that's so sick. So that's why we have those. Charlie McDonald he was also like a kind of a staunch socialist, Marxist. He was having these meetings at his home with other people, and one time an RCMP officer attended one of the meetings, and there was just a portrait of Lenin on the wall. This was a time when you couldn't have a portrait of Lenin on your wall, obviously. So the cops decided they were going to kind of keep a closer eye. So what they did was they started to, instead of singing like the socialist worker songs at their meetings, they changed the lyrics to like Catholic songs. So when the cops would cruise by, they would just hear, oh, they're just praising the Lord. But really they were, putting together their plans. Pretty cool. And these were the plans. The ferry cottages. So there you go. Apparently you could rent this one by donation, even recently. I don't know if that's true now or not, but how about this painting of the blue roof one? There's the Teapot Cottage again. Isn't it just adorable? Yeah, it's no longer there. Simpler time, am I right? This is what I do for a living, folks. Very silly. Okay, I thought we would talk about Rita McNeil for a moment. And the segue here is that she was also investigated by the RCMP. If you can believe that. That's right, our seemingly harmless songstress was the target of an RCMP spy campaign, keeping tabs on Canadian feminists who were interested in stopping the exploitation of women. Aside from Rita, the RCMP were also interested in the Vancouver Women's Caucus and the group's 1970 abortion caravan, which trekked across the country to protest the law regulating the termination of pregnancies. According to the CBC, an undercover source reporting on a March 1972 gathering of women's liberation groups in Winnipeg compiled biographical sketches of several delegates, noting that McNeil was in attendance representing the Toronto Women's Caucus. She's the one that composes and sings those women's lib songs, says the RCMP memo. Imagine how many memos there are like that out there. Say some pretty awful things. Very silly wording. Yeah, they were convinced that Rita had connections to communist countries as well. Rita McNeil. This Rita. So, pretty ridiculous. Yeah, that's right. In bed with the Chinese, this one. Here's Rita with her family. And, oh, sorry, and maybe Ty, this one is a little loud too, so you can bring the sound down a little bit.
We'll be there, we will remember. We reached across, we touched a spot. The story's just beginning. I know we'll reach the sky tonight. You can see how far we've come. Standing in our brightest light. This is what the dream has done. I know we'll reach the sky tonight.
Absolute banger. Rita McNeil, everybody. Is anyone familiar with the Green Lady of Brooklyn? Her name is Elizabeth Rosenthal, and she's actually from Amherst, Nova Scotia. What? No way, admin. It's true. I have another little kind of funny story about her. So she hitchhiked from Amherst to New York City in the 60s. Her and her husband sort of didn't fit in rural Nova Scotia. Yeah, hard to believe, right? In one of her interviews, she's like, I was a beatnik. So she moves to New York City, at which point she starts working in the garment district in Manhattan. She ends up doing work later on in life for Liz Claiborne, Michael Kors, all kinds of stuff. But you know the little horse on polo shirts on Ralph Lauren? That's a drawing she did. Yeah. Pretty fucking cool. Here she is at her house. Her house is green as well. She has been green since the year 2000. She's 84 years old. Yeah. She is so cool, I think. She's always making this cute face. This was before she was green. Wearing some nice floral here. Beautiful. Here she's green again. These are her parents. Her friends call her Sweetheart. So everyone on social media calls her the Green Lady because no one knows her name. But in real life, everyone calls her Sweetheart. It's her name to everybody. So yeah, her father was a surgeon in Nova Scotia. But he trained in London, England, and her mother was one of the first people ever to study medicine in London, England. So pretty cool. Ty, this next one is the TikTok that is extremely loud. Just a fair warning before I blast the shit out of everybody here. There we go.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah. Wow.
Green Lady's famous fig jam. Is that an air plant?
Yeah. Oh, but it's air. Hi, Shishi.
Oh, who's this?
Gigi.
Oh, she doesn't like. Love you. Bye. Bye. See you soon.
Boom, TikTok. I once read this amazing article about her, when she was being interviewed, and they were like, so why green? And she said, for my home province of Nova Scotia. Her wearing green is a dedication to, just move home, girl. But, yeah.
The Green Lady has by far the sweetest laugh in NYC.
New York City. There we go. Yes. How long have you had that laugh for? Your whole life? You're born with it?
Her little green M&M mittens. She's so cool.
Did you take your laughing pills this morning? Bye. So long. Bye.
I would hang out with her every day if I lived in New York. I would go and knock on her door and say, what you doing? Can I play? This is a slide that's in the wrong order. This is Rita McNeil's chair. Remember when we were talking about Rita? This was relevant then. You can rent Rita's house on Airbnb. And I did it with my family. I'm not kidding. I took this photo. This is her chair that's down by the water. And it has this listed on it, the songs that she wrote while sitting in that chair. She would write her songs down by the water. So I spent some time sitting in this chair because I spent a lot of time down by the water fishing when I stayed there. Here's me with a fish I caught. We have a round of applause for my fish. Thanks. Last night I didn't have to ask for that round of applause. Everyone just got really excited for me and my fish. This is Ryan Hemsworth. Yeah, Halifax legend. I got a DM from him the other day that said, I've never found the origin story, but they're super 80s Nova Scotia. Husband and wife made them in Queens County. And whenever I ask someone from Nova Scotia, usually 1 in 3 people have this. And so I thought, you guys remember these mugs? It's funny because they're not expensive now because they're everywhere. Like you will find one in every Nova Scotia Valley village. Anybody remember these? Did you think that they were everywhere when you were growing up, or did you know it was just a Nova Scotia thing? Sometimes I think that's funny that you think like, oh, that was just us? Yep, only you guys. We're drinking out of the face mugs. Which I find really funny. Which sort of leads me into the next, this is sort of, again, like that kind of thing where you see something and maybe you saw it every day, but you didn't realize, or you didn't know like the backstory about it. We all know I'm a huge fan of the Venres chair. If you went to elementary school, junior high, or high school in Atlantic Canada between the 60s and now, you're quite familiar with this chair. This is the Horizon Stacking Student Chair made in Shelburne, Nova Scotia. Big Venres fans here tonight. This chair offers incredible durability with a nearly indestructible plastic shell and 16-gauge steel legs. It's truly a fine chair, and when you were in class that had anything else, which was exceptionally rare, you would notice. Funny to think that you might never consider this chair on its own, but rather its absence. That is interesting, right? There's a neat story behind the chair. Looking into this a little further and consulting the Venres website, here's what I've learned. 2 cousins, Archibald King and Balfour Swim, that's a name for you. They studied the technology used to build the de Havilland Mosquito bomber that was flown by the Royal Canadian Air Force in World War II. The plane had an exceptional reputation for toughness. They could fly up to 630 kilometers an hour, carrying an astounding bomb payload. They were often simply repaired if they crash landed and sent back up into the air. The 2 cousins realized that the same technology that created the toughness of the aircraft could be used to create nearly indestructible furniture. Something that, let's say, perhaps the government of Nova Scotia would be interested in buying. And buy they did. The first order of Venres chairs by these 2 cousins was for $6 million worth of those chairs. So their little project panned out for them. The 2 cousins in 1947 built the plant in, they were from Lockport, Nova Scotia, but they built the plant in Shelburne where it still is today. The name Venres comes from the products used to make the chairs, ven for veneer and res for resin. Archie King once told a newspaper reporter that when tested, the Venres chair withstood 5 tons of pressure in a jig before it broke. So that's one tough chair. People have kind of picked up on my, not obsession, like I'm not obsessed with them, I do think they're aesthetically quite pleasing. But it also, I think it's a good example of like what my account is, which is like, something that you saw every day but didn't know the story behind, and it's actually kind of a neat story. But, so people have taken to, and I'm sure there's some of you in this crowd that have done this, photograph them in the wild. So like, I get like 1 DM a day of a Venres like in the forest or like on top of a building inexplicably or something. But yeah, every day I get this in my inbox. So I mean, I asked for this, I guess. So I try to post a good chunk of them. It's just kind of beautiful, something about it. It's like, this one's lonely. This one doesn't feel as lonely, even though it looks more alone. It doesn't feel. This This feels kind of lonely. These chairs are made by Venrez as well. I call these ones the church basement chair, because these are the ones that are usually. In fact, this was a show I did in Ottawa, at a place. Let's go Ottawa. Yeah, so this is actually in a church basement, a place called Bridget's Well. This is how well the Catholic Church is doing. They're just turning them into Irish bars now in Ottawa. But I was doing my I arrived to do my show. This is one of my bigger shows I ever did, actually. There's quite a few people there, as you can see by the chairs. But I went, just saying. But I went down and I was whoa! Immediately I knew, and I went and checked the back. I was like, Venrez, this is a good omen. It's going to be a good show. This is my house. This is how I watch the playoffs. I put my computer on a Venrez, and then a projector on that lawn chair, and watch the Oilers or the Habs. This is one of my favorite submissions. It's also kind of sick too. You can see the Confederation Bridge in the back. You see that? It's pretty tight. So obviously we're at a wedding, right? I kind of lost it when someone sent me this photo, because I was like, at least do that thing with the tablecloths that they do, wrap them up. No, they just went fucking raw with the Venrez at the wedding. But I said to the person that sent this to me, I was like, so what's the deal here? And they were like, the father of the bride is a school principal. Why pay $400 to rent chairs when you can just unload them out of the back of the fucking gym of the school you're the principal at? I need to ask you guys in this room, what the fuck was going on here? I have chosen not to display like the cartoon mascots because they are unbelievably in poor taste. But what the fuck was Alfredo Weinstein and Ho? Weinstein? Okay, sorry. Jesus Christ. Give some rat's ass. Gone now. Anyway. It was the OG what? Mashup? You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. That's all I have to say. I did a beer with Bellwoods Brewery in Toronto, and I put the Venrez chair on the beer. Isn't that cool? The beer clocked in at 6.7%, a clever nod to 1867. Thank you very much. I asked if they could do that. I was like, can you guys actually like go down to the decimal? And they were like, yep, no problem. You also get pretty banged up drinking 6.7% beers. But they asked me like how I wanted it to taste, like what kind of beers did I like, and I was like, well, I like IPAs. You know, like, but I don't like them when they're like kind of sweaty tasting or too hoppy. Like, I like them like sweet, you know? I was like, I have the palate of a 6-year-old. Please make me a candy beer. Bellwoods Brewery in Toronto. And they also, so they sent me back the notes of it or whatever the description was, and it was like, it has notes of Swedish berries and Sunny D. So this is how I expected the reception of the beer to go. I was certain I would be the only one in the world to like it, but it ended up selling out pretty quick. They said that they were gonna like carry it through to like July of last year, and they were gone by April. So yeah, round of applause for me. Which, yeah, didn't have too much to do with the brewing, but oh dear. So some of these photos in this slideshow are just like from my personal collection. We know about this one, obviously. I do have this cool thing where some like Canadian celebrities follow me. One of them is Rick Mercer, and yeah, legend. And I DM him one night after a few drinks. I'm gonna fire off a message to Rick Mercer. Why the hell not? And I was like, I need to ask you about a picture. And he goes, I know exactly what photo you're gonna ask me about. And I get asked about it all the time. So they're at a Gemini after party. You can see the Gemini right there, which is pretty funny. But basically my question was like, do you like was this a candid shot? You know, like was this like a sincere look? He said, absolutely. In fact, David Suzuki has a party trick that he does where he like disappears into the bathroom and he comes out nude. Like at galas and shit. And his whole reason for like thinking that it's funny is like, no one will ever suspect me to do this. So Mercer's walking by and actually made that face reacting to Suzuki. But it's not the only favorite tarps off moment. This was Ron at a bar in Victoria. Apparently Ron parties hard, and I don't know, like when he's not quoting Aristotle on Hockey Night in Canada, dropping some fucking platonic reference on us. He's apparently tarps off at the bar, so good for Ron. They say every time someone pours a rum and Pepsi, a Maritimer is born. Isn't that cute, the little boat? That's nice, eh? POV, this group tells you they haven't seen you since you were about yay high, even though you're 35 years old. I posted this like a couple of years ago, and someone was like, is that the new Glasgow lobster supper? I was like, it sure is. So, one of these days I'm hoping like someone's gonna be like, that's my aunt on the right, or something. It hasn't happened yet. This is when I knew I had to leave New Brunswick. I saw a pit bull smoking an Export A green in Dieppe. Man, Moncton has gone downhill. We used to have Crystal Palace, now we have this. This is some work I'm thinking of getting done. These are my 3 children. And this is from the time that I decided it would be funny if Burton Cummings had actually done the flute solo in the As It Happens theme song. Of course he didn't. Absolute banger though. That song is called Curried Soul by a jazz musician from Toronto named Mo Kaufman. And if you ever find that record, it's really cool. Because you flip it over on the back, and instead of there being like track listings, there's just a recipe for his favorite curry. True story. And so that song has been the theme song for As It Happens for forever. But now there's a remix. They've remixed it. It's not that original version anymore. Sticking with music here for a moment, I want to talk about the song It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion. Or as most of us would know it, by Celine Dion. The story behind the song is pretty crazy. It was written by Meatloaf's songwriter Jim Steinman. Meatloaf desperately wanted to record it. Steinman actually took an infuriated Meatloaf to court to ensure that he not sing it. When Meatloaf demanded to sing it, Steinman famously replied, "No, it is for a woman." So he wrote it for Meatloaf, and then like he finishes his masterpiece, and he's like, "No, it's for a woman now." Before Celine made it popular, it was recorded by a group called Pandora's Box, and it's a great tune. Fun fact about Celine's version of It's All Coming Back to Me Now. It's one of the few times she didn't hit #1 in the United States in that era, and it's because the song was released in the same week as the Macarena. So, It's All Coming Back to Me Now was dethroned. Well, not dethroned, just never cracked #1 because we were doing Don La Capopolala. I can't even remember it anymore. Down and this. Yeah. This was pre-TikTok we were doing this. Anyway. Oh, shit.
There were nights when the wind was so cold.
He finally did get to sing it. It's on Bad Out of Hell. Isn't this fucked up? And it's a duet when he did it. Completely changes the dynamic of the song, I think. The 90s in these black and white videos too, right?
I finished crying in the instant that you left, and I can't remember where or when or how.
A pensive Meatloaf, there's nothing better.
And I banished every memory you and I had ever made. When you touch me like this,
All right, fuck. Okay, staying with music for another minute here. I want to talk about Katie Lang for a moment. Anyone that... Yeah, legend. In fact, I will be dropping a Katie Lang remix later tonight if you're coming back for the after party. You will definitely hear a cool edit of Constant Craving. But speaking of Constant Craving, it was a huge hit for her that earned her songwriting credits on a Rolling Stones song as well. Anybody See My Baby has a remarkably similar chorus. Jagger and Richards claim to have never heard the song before, only having discovered the similarity prior to the song's release. Keith Richards has said that while playing the song for his daughter, Angela, and her friend, they started singing the lyrics to Constant Craving over his chorus, to his confusion. Richards subsequently gave Lang a co-writer credit on the song, for which she was completely honored and flattered. I think it was sort of like a preemptive thing, like we won't get sued if we reach out, give her 25%. She made a fucking killing though when they did this, because do you remember the 40 Licks compilation? That CD of Rolling Stones, greatest hits or whatever? So Anybody See My Baby was on that, and everybody's dad bought that CD. And so she made a ton of money just on that little move. It also reminds me of the band Rascal Flatts covering Life is a Highway by Tom Cochrane for the movie Cars. Tom Cochrane has said in interviews that he made more money from them covering that song than he did for his entire career. Isn't that crazy? Like On the Road with Red Rider for like 20 years. It's like, nope, just some other band covering your song for a cartoon instantly makes you more money. Anyway, back to Constant Craving. It's the perfect song. Noted, right? Noted. Right? They ripped her hard. Isn't that crazy? Very cool. I got a couple texts the other day. Anxiety said, "What if you're not good enough?" Depression said, "Everyone hates you." And Jim Rankin said, "Old McPhee literally just wrapped his buggy around a tree." This is the face I make when I have the feeling that I've got $20 and I know it'll get me by the door. Reminds me of that, like, moisturized in my lane. This is when you have Rankin family at home. So when I posted this, I got a DM of the laughing emoji from the Barra McNeil's Instagram account. So apparently they're chill. So that's good. Is she handsome? Is she pretty? No? Well, then it can't be the Belle of Belfast City. Has she been rambling too long? No? It can't be Lisa Brown. Do you guys remember my obsession with Tony Clement? Yeah. So I've had some beefs with this account, and one of the bigger ones was with former Conservative cabinet minister Tony Clement. I take a lot of runs at the Conservative Party of Canada because fuck those guys. Suck it. Anyway, I have a lot of photos of Tony Clement on my phone. So my iPhone thinks he's like my uncle or something. I have entire folders of this man. And on this one particular day, I was I chose to watch one of the slideshows that my iPhone had made for me. You know how it does this. And so it was just like a slideshow of the Rankin family and Tony Clement. So here's me watching that slideshow. Oh, okay. This is good. So I have scoured the internet for Rankin family remixes. I'm hoping and I haven't found one to this day, but surely to God someone's done a sick house edit of Mull River Shuffle, right? DJs in the house, someone get to work. That one needs to be done. I can't find it. But what I have found instead is 3 different DJs who have chosen the Rankin family song Borders and Time and turned it into a reggae song. What the fuck? It's a great song, but what the hell is going on here? YouTube? Hey, it kind of bangs. Okay, so you think there'd just be the one? No, there's 2 others of the same song that also chose to go in a similar direction. Who is the demographic for this? Other than me. I just think it's so crazy. This one's the best, for sure. The fucking bass? Yeah, just what the Rankin family needed was bass. DJ Jimmy Rankin. Alright. Sorry, guys. They say every time an angel whispers, "Way she goes," a maritimer is born. I always tell the story about my beef with Jan Arden because it's just too special. I used to make all these Valentines making fun of conservative politicians, but before I did it that way, I would just do nice Valentines for celebrities that I liked. And so I did one on Jan one time. It just said, "Could I be your girl?" I thought this was nice. Jan didn't think it was nice. She thought I was the government of Canada. So she said, "Please stop the live export of horses to Japan. It's unbelievably cruel. 4 large draft horses, crammed into wooden crates, no headroom, no food, no water, 2 days just shitting on each other." I said, "Hi Jan, massive fan here. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not actually affiliated with the government in any capacity, but rather a simple citizen and proud owner of Living Under June and a ticket stub to your show at the Aiken Center, Fredericton, 1997, my first ever concert. Love you, Jan." That comment is still up. Just shitting on each other. Awful. I did a show in Calgary recently and I put her on my poster. You can see her right there on Ralph Klein's shoulder. To which I was in trouble with Jan for a second time. Not sure what this is? What exactly are you selling tickets for? Why are you using my likeness, you shady bastard? And I just explained to her that when I I should mention this. I'd like to thank Andrew Neville again, because Andrew's the one that did the poster for this event, and he did an amazing job. So before Andrew he's now my poster guy, because he's doing such an incredible job with them. But before he took over, I would do them, and this is the chaos that came out of that. So I think I've made the right move by hiring a professional to take over. Anyway, I just explained that she was a shoo-in for my Calgary poster because of, who she is or whatever. And she said, well, you made my day. So we're actually friends now, and she made me a little video.
Hi there, it's me, Jan Arden, and you are watching and listening to Canada.gov.ca, my most beloved entity.
How fucking sick is this?
Of this great land of ours. You are watching greatness in action.
Doesn't get any better than that, folks. I was then invited to be on her podcast. There's me. When I saw I didn't give them that photo. They just found me laughing in my Maritimes Dooley's knockoff shirt. And I listened to the podcast and said that I loved it, thought it was great, and she texted me back, "Yay!" So this is what my text inbox looks like. Also, speaking of the iPhone, it auto uploaded this stunning headshot of her. I didn't go find that; my phone just did it. I was like, "Damn, Jan, you're looking great." And to top it all off, she came to my show in Calgary. So, yeah, for the record, Jan is cool. I go on her podcast and tell her the story, or tell that story of her thinking I was the government or whatever, just roasting her. And then she comes to my show. So, I think she responds to strength. Here's the queen of Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, Anne Murray. On this one particular occasion, I was kind of going through an Anne Murray obsession. I was posting a lot about her. It's kind of strange. Something to unpack at a later date. But I posted this footage of her performing at the Red and Black Review, which was a variety show at UNB, where Anne went to university. I posted it on my story, and I got a DM from Anne herself the next day saying, "Where did you find this, dear? I've not seen this before." So another win for the admin right there. 2 weeks go by, and I get a package in the mail, and it's a piece of merchandise. It was one of everything they have in her store, including this hat and a crew neck sweater that was blank except for in cursive writing right here. It just said Anne Murray. To this day, some of the sickest merch I've ever seen. There was also this signed 8x10 saying to John, XO Anne. But someone on her team had the wherewithal. They're like, he's anonymous on his account, so you're gonna have to send him one that says admin. So that happened, which is pretty nice. Another cute anecdote. Some of you will recognize Adam Baldwin here. Pretty cool. He was my special guest at my show last night, which was really nice. He DM'd me one day and said, I'm coming through Montreal. Perhaps you would like to be a guest at my show. And he was opening for Alan Doyle. I'm a huge Great Big Sea fan. And he was like, if you come, maybe I'll introduce you to the big man himself. He's talking about God or something. Anyway, it happened. There's me and Alan. Pretty sick. At my very first show ever, my special guest, however, was Iggy from Under the Umbrella Tree. So cool how that happened. And it was my first ever show, so I was like, maybe I'll have fucking Elmo next show. I don't know. I was just, looking back, I don't think I realized how special that was. Because, I don't think I've topped it. That was pretty sweet. I have a couple more shout-out videos I thought I would share.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dale Weiss, former Montreal Canadian. Very excited about the game tonight, and you are watching Canada.gov.ca.
As a Habs fan, this one was pretty cool. Dale Weiss, they used to call it the Dutch Gretzky, because he put up Gretzky-like numbers in the Dutch league. which is where NHL players go to die. But this one was good.
Hi, I'm Greg Keeler from Blue Rodeo. When I wake up in the morning, I like to start my day with a cup of tea and Canada.gov.ca.
Close enough, Greg. Hi, I'm Greg Keeler, and I am baked as fuck. I like to start my day with half a pound of hash and whatever this. Have you ever seen a more stoned man in your life? Oh, and that sick zip up. Was it like velvet or something? Velour? Unbelievable. What a fucking king. God love him. And he follows me and DMs me all the time. He really does like the account. Just awesome.
Oh, hey, I got a message for Canada.gov.ca. Like, I heard you're kind of looking for me, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I was out in Cape Breton for sure, out east with the boys there, and I did have a Pontiac. So what about it? Like, seriously, just, you know, if you're looking for me, just you know, talk to me. I'm right fucking here. So anyway, I hope you have a good day, Canada.gov.ca. So,
wahoo!
Yahoo!
Good stuff.
Hi, I'm Rick Mercer. Thank you for watching Canada.gov.ca.
Let's go! That's a good one. This is a thank you to all of you because for being here, you're all my lobster. Isn't that nice? I love you. Oh, shit. Okay, some new merch. Immediately following this show, I will be at the merch table back there, to the left, where the shuffleboard table normally is. And on the long sleeve of these, what's this? Oh, sick fucking beer. Let's go, bro. This is my brother-in-law, Richard. Round of applause for Richard. What a guy. Unbelievable. Alpine is fine, but I'd sooner a schooner. Am I right? Coldest beer in the fridge, they say too. On the back of the long sleeve are my tour dates for this little tour. So maybe you want to get the long sleeve because it says Marquee Ballroom. Halifax. Tomorrow I'll be in Sackville, New Brunswick, hungover as fuck. Wanting to die. Anyway, also comes in t-shirt. And there's also this one. And it's a little bit of a Dooley's knockoff. If someone here works for Dooley's, please leave me alone. And there's some stickers, including one that says "Keep honking." I'm getting all fired up for the dance. And we have John Morris there, and Cookie, and Raylene, and Jimmy. Oh yeah, it does say on the shirt. Wow, that's pretty good. Created by the admin, 2017. I started the account because I was at work one day trying not to work. I had the most soul-crushing job imaginable, and I decided to punch in the words Canada.gov.ca into the search thing to see if it was available. That was the only plan I had. This whole thing that I'm doing right now with all these people in this room was completely by accident. And I kid you not. I thought it would be funny to start an account that said Canada.gov.ca so my friends at work would get a notification that said they'd been followed by the government. I thought that was funny, and now I do this for a living. So there you go. Isn't that fucking crazy? So you never know where the world's gonna take you. Here are some prices, and you can see them over there as well. Some final thoughts. I'm gonna need you to respect my trans homies, or I'm gonna identify as a fucking problem. I've also included this photo of myself. And instead of doing a land acknowledgement, because I think those are mostly for white people, I put this up, and you can give us a round of applause if you agree. you, Halifax. Thank you, Marquee. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. You've been the best. Thank you so much. Cheers.